Meet me. Data analysis complete. Now disappear. Welcome back to another squirrely guide video, and today we're going to talk about Operator Sigret, ML Sigret. She just came out this week, and my thoughts on her are pretty mixed, but she is really, really good at one thing, and you guys will see that in the PvP showcase. So without further ado, we're going to talk about her skills, builds, a PvP showcase, and summary. As always, let's get started. Alright, so ML Sigret's abilities. Let's talk about them. So her S1, super basic move, no debuffs or anything. Hits decently hard, but nothing too crazy. But it does heal her. Now, in my testing, the heal is so small that it's basically unnoticeable. It may save you in like 1 out of 20 matches or something, but my Sigret had close to 4k attack, which is quite high for her, and it was healing for like 1500, so definitely not something you can rely on, but hey, it's just an S1, nothing to worry about. Now, her S2 is basically her S3. Her S2 is way scarier to me. It batters the enemy with a scythe. It grants an extra turn when the enemy is defeated, no soul burn required. It penetrates the target's defense by 50%, which is pretty crazy to begin with. But if they have a barrier, so Fallen Cecilia, it penetrates defense by 100%. Do you know what that means? It means if they have a barrier, they're dead. It doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter. Aurius, Adamant, Proof of Valor, no one cares. They're going to die if they get hit by this and they have a barrier up. And you're going to see that more in the PvP showcase. Her S3 is also insane, and it looks awesome. It calls in drones to attack all enemies at max mola, 100% chance to decrease buff durations. Now, it's not a full strip, it's a duration reduction, so it'll strip immunity, but remember, FCC's starting barrier is 2 turns, won't get rid of that. And I think they did that on purpose because they don't want to remove it so that she can't S2. And it also decreases their combat readiness by 20%. And it attack buffs your entire team. So basically, it's like Basar's S3, except take away the unbuffable and add attack buff. Like, it's pretty nuts, actually. So the main problem with her skills to me, though, is these two skills don't really synergize well, in my opinion. If this thing had a soul burn to grant an extra turn, well, that probably would have just been broken anyway. But the thing is, you either have to build her high attack to use this well, or high effectiveness and speed to use this well, and there's no way to get her to do it back to back without doing some weird thing like an aux slots in between or something like that. But those are her skills. Now let's move on to her builds. So how do you build ML Sigret? So this is my ML Sigret stats for reference for the next section, so you know what stats she has and how much damage she's doing. I put 5 molas into her S2, no molas into anything else, and she's only 5-star awakened. So the most easy thing to do is just to build her with the same as any other Oxlot's attack unit. So when you're using her with Oxlots, basically the unit you're going to push up, you just stack offensive stats. So I have 3,800 attack if it was max awakened, probably closer to 4k, 98% crit chance, 316 crit damage. So you could probably bump her up even more, get her to like 4k attack, 350 crit damage if you had better gear, but it's really unnecessary. I'm going to show you that with these stats, you'll one-shot anything in the game if they have a barrier. The other two options, if you're not going to use her with Oxlots, is a standard offensive speed build. So you'd basically just try to get around 210-ish speed. She has pretty good base speed, 115. Get her around like 210 to 230 speed. And with that speed, keep up as much offensive stats as possible. So you'll probably have to cut it down to like 3k attack, maybe high 200 crit damage unless you have super god tier gear. But that will probably be the more common RTA build, because in RTA you cannot expect Oxlots to get through. The third build, which will be interesting to see if anyone runs this, is a high-speed effectiveness build and basically use her like a Basar that also gives you attack buff. Because remember, her S3 at Max Mola has a 100% chance to decrease buff durations by 1 turn. It won't remove FCC barrier, but it will get rid of immunities and it will push them back, and has a big advantage of giving attack buff. So if you pair it with something like CDOM, you can strip them, attack buff, push them back, and also get the boost from CDOM. So I'm very curious to see if people run that. If you do that, obviously the build is maximum speed, maximum effectiveness, and as many offensive stats as you could get while also stacking those 2 stats. So it'll be pretty hard. She'll probably hit pretty weak if you build her that way. Artifacts. Portrait, Tonfas, or I'm going to use this thing. I'll use this and Portrait just to highlight her damage. But this thing's absolutely monstrous. This artifact is absolutely broken. I have no idea who came up with this. They're like, oh yeah, why don't we just stick Tonfas and Oath Key together and get rid of the 50% health limitation. Absolutely amazing. I think this is the best artifact on her. If you don't want to use this, I mean, just use this. I can't think of anything that's going to be even close to as good as this. I guess you could put her on Reingars, but that'll only really help her S3, and it's not her main damage ability. So with that out of the way, let's go to our favorite part, the PvP showcase. Alright, everyone's favorite part. Let's test ML Sigret in PvP. So we have Fallen Cecilia, we have Aurius, who I saw the pop-up. We have Rueles, one of the tankiest Soul Weavers in the game. This is a very meta defense, right? Rowana, Rueles, FCC, T-Surin. How does ML Sigret fare against one of the most meta defenses in Epic 7 right now? Can she kill a super tanky Rueles with just an Oxalot's push, no strips, no death break, no nothing? Not even close. 35k damage through Aurius and FCC barrier. Straight up dead. Straight up dead. No mercy. So, now we do this thing. And now we can have a CDOM with attack buff go. So we'll just go ahead and go into this Rowana. Big damage there. We're gonna push up again. And what should we do here? Let's just try and finish off this T-Surin. And T-Surin goes down. We're gonna use this move. Blip, 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 blip. To push CDOM up again. We will push up ML Sigret, because it is her video, so we gotta give her some glory. Wipe out Rowana, and wipe out FCC in a nice clean win. Let's try another one. Alright, let's try another one, this time with 2 knights. Hopefully it's both Aurius and Adamant. There we go, Aurius and Adamant. So Aurius on the Crow, Adamant on the FCC, starting with full barrier. Can Rueles survive this time? Lol. This damage is a joke. It's just so much. Like, basically, she doesn't really do crap if they don't have a barrier. But if they do have a barrier, it's instant death. It's literally instant death. They just die. It's absolutely insane. So now my CDOM has attack buff, which means she's going to be able to do insane damage. Let's just start on the FCC first. We'll boost up. And you know what? Let's just hit FCC again, because this will kill her and the Aurius will make Crow take a bunch of damage. Okay, so now we'll do the same thing as last time. We'll do this to bump up. We actually silenced the Riolet, that's interesting. And does it really matter who we bump up at this point? We'll bump up CDOM and just wipe out Crow. And again, it's an immediate 4v1. Now let's see how well this Riolet fares this time. Oh, and now we get to see the heal from Sigret's S1 in action, and she wipes him out. So a lot of fun. Let's do another one. Alright, let's try one last meta defense, another quadruple ML5, Riolet, Arbiter, Rueles, and FCC. As always, oh, that's a fast Riolet. We Start off on Rueles. Again, no chance. And this time I switched her to the Evasion artifact, a new Guild Wars artifact. Let's see if we could hit Rueles. Hey, we do, and guess what? We stripped Evasion. So, we're just gonna burn into him, blip, and then do this for no reason, didn't need to. And good night, Arbiter. So I think the conclusion is ML Sigret's quite good on arena offense. Now, we'll talk about RTA more in the summary section, but in arena offense, she definitely works perfectly fine. Alright, so let's wrap this video up. As always, we're going to summarize ML Sigret. Is she good? I think she's alright. So after testing her, my opinion on her has not changed too much from my preview video where I thought she's probably going to be okay, but her kit is very limited in many ways. So let's just go over the PvP ratings first. Now on Arena Offense, I'm going to give her a B+. And rating her is kind of hard because the way she works, basically she dunks FCC teams, right? FCC teams, she clobbers. But any other team, she's awkward to set up, especially if you're just building her pure attack with Oxlots, because the only other thing that's probably going to give them a barrier is LR Crow, and if you're going to use that, you need to AoE them first with something else to get that to go up. And when you have so many other offenses, like arena offense is pretty easy, that are more consistent, like why? I almost have this theory that this hero was meant just to reduce the reliance on FCC on top tier defenses, because at least last season, maybe something like 95% of top 100 defenses had FCC on it. Maybe they're doing this to try and get that number down. The problem with that is if FCC disappears on arena defense, Operator Sigret gets even worse because then there's almost no reason to bring her. So arena offense, because FCC's everywhere, she's very solid right now, but I wonder how long that will stay true. And again, FCC was always around, and you could have beaten them anyway. You had to beat them to push at all. So I don't know if that's the only thing she counters. I don't know how much she matters. Arena defense, easy F. I can't think of any reason you would want to use her for arena defense. Just don't do it. Guild Wars offense, I'm going to give her a C. It's kind of like the same thing as arena offense, but Guild Wars offense, it's even more limited because there's less people using FCC on defense. So pretty much if the team doesn't have FCC on defense, like why? She's squishy, you could build her like a bruiser, but she's not going to be as good as other bruisers out there. That's the main problem with Sigret. The reliance on the barrier, because if they don't have a barrier, she doesn't do a whole lot, honestly. Like 50% def pen is nothing to joke about, but at the same time, if you go into like an Adamant and Aurius team and they don't have a barrier, you're going to hit them for like 8k with the 50% defense penetration. It's not enough. And the other turn, she does basically nothing. So Guild Wars offense, yes, if you bring her with Oxlots and they have an FCC on defense, maybe something like FCC Charles SSB, you could probably dunk it pretty fast with Sigret. But again, if that's all she's going to do, I'd rather just have regular Sigret or something. Guild Wars defense, again, hard F. Can't think of any reason you would want to use her there. And RTA, this is a tough one because I'm making this review video for someone watching in the future. It's less than a week after she came out. So it's hard to say if she's going to somehow sneak her way into the meta with some interesting builds. But let's discuss the build options. Oxlots build with slow speed, high attack, I can't imagine will be viable in RTA. Because they're just going to ban out your Oxlots or your other CR pushers, and she's just going to sit there and get blown up before she gets a turn. If you build her high speed, high effectiveness, and you focus on S3ing first, now that might work. That might be interesting. But the thing is, some people are saying like Sigret's going to be dangerous because they won't know how they're built. They're going to know how they're built depending on how you draft, right? Like if you don't have any CR pushers and you draft something like this with a CDOM, it's pretty obvious that this is meant to go first, right? So they'll be able to have a pretty reasonable guess how you built it based on your draft. Now, the most common way that I suspect is kind of people are going to build like ML Lulu decently fast with still high offensive stats, so she can still one-shot stuff with barriers. But again, if you're trying to one-shot people, she can't unless they have a barrier. Now, granted, in RTA, a lot of people have barriers, but you want to nuke them turn one, right? You're not going to be able to do that unless they have FCC. So she has no sustain unless you build her like a bruiser, in which case she might not be able to one-shot them even with the 100% death pen. So for now, RTA, I'm going to give her a C. I think the only way I could see her built is very, very high-end cleavers. I'm talking like top 20 players with insane speed gear, insane gear. I think that this hero might actually be very powerful in their hands in certain cleave setups, especially as a counter pick to something like FCC, because then they have to be really scared, right? Because at the high end, a lot of these players have so many heroes and it all becomes about counter drafting. Like you pick Arbiter, they pick BMH. There's always some kind of answer that becomes really annoying. And in this case, I think when someone's going to cleave setups and they pick FCC into it, you draft ML Sigret and you immediately give them a very scary pick that they have to really consider banning. But for now, I'm still going to have to stick with a C for RT. I think newer players are not going to be able to make much use of her at all. Top cleavers, maybe. But in general, I think there are just so many other heroes in the game that have a much more versatile kit that's relevant to a lot of situations. And to me, ML Sigret just doesn't meet that definition. So anyways, those are my thoughts on ML Sigret. If you have any, of your own opinions that you want to share with other people in the community, feel free to put it in the comments section below. And again, this review is quite early for her, so who knows, the meta might shift in the next few weeks and maybe she'll get better or maybe she'll get worse. But worst case scenario, she'll be garbage and she'll get buffed and then she'll be broken like a bunch of other ML5s in the past. So anyways, thanks for watching this video. Make sure you like and subscribe if you want to see more squirrely reviews in the future. Until next time, peace out, boys.